Dr. Amanda Stone sat in front of her computer screen at 3 in the morning. Coffee cups covered her desk. She had been working for 18 hours straight. The radio signals from space kept coming, and she knew they meant something important. Still, here, Amanda. Jake Martinez walked into the lab. He carried 2 fresh cups of coffee. You need to sleep. Look at this, Jake. Amanda pointed at her screen. These signals are not random. They have patterns, real patterns. Jake put the coffee down and looked at the data. He was the best engineer at the International Space Communications Center. If anyone could understand the technical side, it was him. The frequency changes every 12 minutes, Jake said. That's not natural. Exactly. Amanda's eyes were bright with excitement. Someone is trying to talk to us. For 3 months, signals had been coming from the Kepler system. Other scientists said they were just star noise. Amanda knew better. She had studied languages her whole life. These signals felt like language to her. What if you're right? Jake asked. What if someone is really out there? Then everything changes, Amanda said. The next morning, Amanda presented her findings to Director Helen Price. The director was a serious woman who did not believe in wild theories, but the data was clear. You think aliens are sending us messages? Director Price asked. The patterns are too complex to be natural, Amanda explained. The signals repeat, but with small changes. That's how language works. Director Price studied the papers for a long time. Finally, she nodded. You have 2 weeks to prove it. If you can decode even one message, we'll make this official. Amanda and Jake worked day and night. They built new equipment to better receive the signals. They created computer programs to find patterns. Slowly, the alien language began to make sense. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday. Amanda was analyzing a repeated signal when she realized what it meant. Jake, come here, she shouted. I think this word means hello. The signal was simple. 3 short pulses, 2 long ones, then 3 short again. It appeared at the start of every transmission. If that's hello, Jake said, then we can say hello back. They sent the same pattern back to space. Then they waited. For 6 hours, nothing happened. Amanda began to think she was wrong. Then the reply came. It was the same pattern, but longer. Much longer. They heard us, Amanda whispered. They actually heard us. The news spread quickly through the facility. Director Price called the president. The president called the United Nations. Within days, the world knew that humanity was not alone. The aliens called themselves the Villani. That was the first word Amanda learned to translate. The second word was friend. Dr. Amanda Stone became the most famous scientist on Earth, but she did not care about fame. She cared about the conversations she was having with beings from another world. The Villani were eager to learn about humans. They asked about Earth's oceans, about human families, about art and music. In return, they shared pictures of their world. The SSIA was beautiful. The Villani lived in crystal cities that floated above purple seas. Their sun was older than Earth's sun, and it painted their sky in colors humans had never seen. They're so much like us, Amanda told Jake one day. They ask the same questions we would ask. They wonder about the same things. Captain Lisa Wong was chosen to lead humanity's first mission to meet the Villani face to face. She was the best pilot in the space program and the calmest person under pressure. Are you nervous? Amanda asked her before the launch. Terrified, Lisa admitted, but also excited. We're going to meet our first alien friends. The journey to Desha took 8 months. During that time, Amanda kept talking to the Villani. She learned about their culture, their history, and their fears. The Villani were afraid of something called the hegemony. It was a group of older alien races that ruled large parts of the galaxy. The hegemony did not like young races, like humans and Villani. They destroy worlds that will not obey them, the Villani explained. We have stayed hidden for many years. Hidden from what? Amanda asked. From those who would kill us for being different. Amanda felt a chill when she read those words. She began to understand that the galaxy was not a safe place. When Captain Wong reached Deshna, the whole world watched on television. The first meeting between humans and aliens happened in a crystal garden floating above the Vellani capital city. Ambassador Kethvei was the first Vellani to shake hands with a human. Kethvei was tall and thin, with silver skin and large, kind eyes. When Kethvei spoke, the words came through a translation device the Vellani had built. "Welcome, friends from Earth," Kethvei said. "We have waited so long to meet you. We're honored to be here," Captain Wong replied. The friendship between humans and Vellani grew stronger every day. They shared technology and knowledge. The Vellani taught humans about faster space travel. Humans shared their music and art. Amanda worked closely with Kethvei to improve the translation systems. They spent hours talking about everything from science to philosophy. Amanda began to think of Kethvei as her closest friend, even though they had never met in person. "Your species fascinates us," Kethvei told her. "You feel emotions so strongly. We Vellani are more calm. Is that bad?" Amanda asked. "No, it is wonderful. Your passion makes you brave. Bravery is rare in the galaxy." Colonel Ryan Davis was not as trusting as the scientists. He was in charge of Earth's military planning, and he worried about the future. "The Vellani are good people," he told Amanda. "But this hegemony scares me. If they're as dangerous as the Vellani say, we need to be ready." "Ready for what?" Amanda asked. "For war," Ryan said simply. Amanda did not want to think about war. She was too busy enjoying humanity's first real friendship with another species. The Vellani were teaching humans about the stars. Soon, humans would be able to travel to other worlds and meet other races. But deep in space, in the dark regions between stars, ancient eyes were watching. The hegemony had noticed the friendship between humans and Vellani, and they did not approve. The Vellani had broken their most important rule. They had revealed themselves to a young race. For that crime, there could be only one punishment. Amanda did not know it yet, but her alien friends were living their last days. The galaxy was about to become a much darker place. Amanda was drinking her morning coffee when the signal stopped. She was in her lab, preparing for her daily conversation with Kethvei. Every morning for 2 years, they had talked about science, culture, and life. It was the best part of Amanda's day, but when she turned on her equipment, she heard only silence. "That's strange," she said to herself. She checked all her machines. Everything was working perfectly. Maybe they're having technical problems. She waited all day. No signals came from the SSIA. Jake found her still waiting at midnight. "Still nothing?" he asked. Complete silence. Amanda said, "I've never seen anything like this. The Vellani always send at least basic signals, even when they're busy." "Maybe their equipment broke," Jake suggested. Amanda shook her head. "All of it, at the same time. That's impossible." The next morning brought more silence, and the morning after that. By the 4th day, Amanda was scared. "Something is wrong," she told Director Price. "The Vellani would never stop talking to us without warning." "Maybe they're just busy," the director said. "Don't panic yet." But Amanda was already panicking. She had a bad feeling in her stomach that would not go away. On the 7th day of silence, Lieutenant Commander Kate Johnson was working at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Her job was to watch for dangerous objects like meteors or comets. She was not expecting to see what appeared on her screen. "What is that?" she said out loud. Her computer showed a massive energy reading from the Kepler system. The energy signature was unlike anything in Earth's databases. Kate called her supervisor immediately. "Sir, I'm reading huge energy spikes from the Kepler system." The numbers don't make sense. It's like someone just exploded 1,000 nuclear bombs. Commander Ben Foster came to look at Kate's screen. His face went pale. "Get me the Space Center right now," he ordered. Within an hour, every telescope on Earth was pointed at the Kepler system. What they saw made no sense. The Kepler star was changing. Its light was getting brighter and more unstable. Solar flares shot out from its surface like angry fingers. "Stars don't do that," Dr. Sophie Chen said. She was Earth's best expert on stellar behavior. "Not naturally." "What do you mean?" Amanda asked. She had rushed to the observatory as soon as she heard the news. "Someone is making that star unstable," Sophie explained. "This is artificial. Someone is using technology to attack the star itself." Amanda felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. "The hegemony," she whispered. "The who?" Sophie asked. "The aliens the Villani were afraid of. They destroy worlds that don't obey them." Everyone in the room went quiet. "Are you saying aliens are killing the Kepler star?" Commander Foster asked. "That's exactly what I'm saying," Amanda replied. For 6 days, they watched the Kepler star grow more unstable. Long-range sensors detected ships around the star. Big ships. Ships that did not belong to the Villani. On the 13th day of silence, the star exploded. Kate Johnson was the first human to witness the death of an entire world. Her instruments showed the exact moment when Kepler went supernova. The explosion was visible even from Earth. For 3 nights, a new star blazed in the sky where Kepler used to be. The SSIA was gone. The beautiful crystal cities, the purple seas, the floating gardens, all of it was dust and radiation. 6 billion Villani had died in an instant. Amanda did not speak for 2 days after the news came. She sat in her lab, staring at her silent equipment. Jake brought her food, but she did not eat it. "They're all dead," she finally said. "Keth Vea, the ambassador, everyone I talked to, they're all dead." "I'm sorry," Jake said. He did not know what else to say. "Why?" Amanda asked. "Why would anyone do this?" The answer came 3 days later. Commander Foster's team intercepted a transmission aimed at Earth. It was not from the Villani. It was from their killers. The message was simple and terrifying. "Attention, young species of the third planet. The Villani have been cleansed for their crime of contact with an unworthy race. You have violated galactic law by communicating with them. Submit to hegemony rule within 1 solar rotation or share their fate. This is your only warning." President Maria Rodriguez held an emergency meeting with world leaders. For the first time in human history, every nation agreed on something. They would not surrender. "They murdered our friends," the president said. 6 billion innocent people, dead because they talked to us. We will not bow to these monsters. But everyone knew the truth. Earth had no weapons that could fight enemies who could make stars explode. Humanity's most powerful bombs were toys compared to hegemony technology. Amanda finally left her lab on the day of the president's speech. She walked outside and looked up at the new star in the sky. The star that used to be Thesha. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her dead friends. "I'm sorry we couldn't save you." But as she stood there, something changed inside her. The sadness was still there, but now there was something else. Something cold and hard and angry. "They think we'll just give up," she said to Jake, who had followed her outside. "They think humans will roll over and die like good little primitives." "What else can we do?" Jake asked. "They have weapons we can't even imagine." Amanda looked at him with fire in her eyes. "Then we'll imagine new ones." The Villani shared their technology with us. Every star chart, every scientific principle, every piece of knowledge they had. So we're going to use it all, every single bit of it. The Villani wanted to help us reach the stars in peace. Amanda's voice was cold as ice. Instead, we're going to use their gifts to bring war to the galaxy. The next morning, Amanda walked into Director Price's office. I want to join the military, she said. You're a scientist, not a soldier, the director replied. The hegemony just taught us that there's no difference, Amanda said. Science, war, survival, it's all the same thing now. Around the world, similar conversations were happening. Scientists became weapons experts. Engineers designed warships instead of exploration vessels. Teachers began training people for war instead of peace. The hegemony had given humanity 1 year to surrender. They expected Earth to spend that time in fear, preparing for defeat. Instead, humanity spent it preparing for revenge. Dr. Sophie Chen began studying the recordings of the Kepler star's destruction. If the hegemony could make stars explode, humans needed to understand how. Colonel Ryan Davis started planning Earth's transformation into a fortress world. Every piece of metal, every factory, every resource would be used to build a war machine. Amanda began translating Vellani military files. The peaceful aliens had not been warriors, but they had known their enemies. Their knowledge would become humanity's sword. Late at night, when Amanda was alone in her lab, she would look at the last message Cathvey had sent before the silence began. Thank you for being our friends, it said. Your species gives us hope for the future of the galaxy. Your sacrifice won't be wasted, Amanda promised the empty room. The hegemony thinks they can erase entire civilizations without consequences. They're about to learn they're wrong. Outside her window, the new star blazed in the sky like an angry eye. It was a reminder of what humanity had lost. Soon, it would become a symbol of what humanity was about to unleash. President Maria Rodriguez stood before the largest gathering of world leaders in human history. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in the United Nations building. For the first time, they were completely united. The hegemony believes. We will surrender, the president said. They think humans are weak because we are young. They are wrong. The room erupted in applause. Every person there had seen the videos from the Shah. They had watched their alien friends die. Now they wanted justice. Today, we signed the Geneva Accords, the president continued. Every military force, every scientist, every factory worker will join together. We are no longer separate countries. We are one species, preparing for war. The signing took 6 hours. Every leader put their name on the document that created the Terran Defense Coalition. It was the most important paper ever signed in human history. General Alex Turner became the supreme commander of Earth's military. He was a tough soldier who had fought in 3 wars. But this war would be different from anything he had ever seen. We have 11 months, he told his staff. 11 months to build a military that can fight aliens who destroy stars. It sounds impossible, but we're going to do it anyway. Dr. Sophie Chen was put in charge of Project Prometheus. Her job was to turn Vellani science into human weapons. The Vellani had shared their knowledge freely. Now that knowledge would serve a darker purpose. The Vellani were peaceful, Sophie explained to her team. They never built weapons of mass destruction, but they understood the science behind them. They knew how their enemies thought and fought. Amanda became the head of the Psychological Warfare Division. Her job was to understand the hegemony's mind and find their weaknesses. The Vellani told us the hegemony is old, she said during her first briefing. They've been ruling the galaxy for thousands of years. They think they know everything about war, and asked Colonel Pete Green. And they've never fought humans before? Amanda replied with a cold smile. Every shipyard on Earth began working 24 hours a day. Captain Danny Walsh was put in charge of building humanity's first war fleet. The ships were not designed for exploration or science. They were designed to kill. We can't match their technology, Danny explained to his engineers. So we won't try. We'll build ships that are faster, smaller, and more aggressive than anything they expect. The asteroid belt became humanity's mine. Robot ships stripped every useful mineral from the floating rocks. Mars was turned into a giant factory. The moon became a military base. People worked like never before. Farmers grew food to feed the workers. Teachers trained people to operate new machines. Children as young as 10 learned basic engineering and combat skills. Everyone contributes, General Turner said. This is not just a military operation. This is the survival of our entire species. Dr. Sophie Chen made the first breakthrough 3 months into the project. She had been studying the way the hegemony destroyed stars. They use gravity manipulation, she announced to the research team. They create artificial black holes that destabilize stellar cores. Can we do the same thing? Asked Dr. Frank Liu. Better, Sophie said. We can do it faster and cheaper. The hegemony uses massive ships to generate the gravity fields. We can use smaller devices that work just as well. Amanda was learning disturbing things about the hegemony. The Villani records showed they had destroyed hundreds of worlds over the centuries. They don't just kill military targets, she reported to General Turner. They erase entire civilizations. Men, women, children, even animals. They leave nothing alive. Any particular reason? The general asked. Fear, Amanda said. They're terrified that young races will eventually become strong enough to challenge them. So they murder any species that shows independence. That's a weakness we can use, Turner said. Fear makes people stupid. The hegemony sent more messages as the months passed. Each one demanded Earth's immediate surrender. Each one was ignored. Your defiance is pointless, one message said. We have destroyed 1,000 worlds. Yours will be no different. Amanda studied every message carefully. She was learning the hegemony's language and psychology. They're getting nervous, she told Jake. Their messages are becoming more aggressive. They expected us to surrender by now. Good, Jake said. He was now building targeting systems for the new warships. Let them worry. Captain Lisa Wong returned from her final diplomatic mission to neutral alien worlds. She had been trying to find allies who would help Earth fight the hegemony. No luck, she reported. Everyone is too scared. The hegemony has ruled for so long that most species can't imagine defeating them. Then we'll do it alone, General Turner said. The months passed quickly. Earth's transformation was incredible. Where once there had been cities, now there were weapons factories. Where once there had been parks, now there were training grounds. Amanda worked 18 hours a day, studying every piece of hegemony communication. She was building a psychological profile of humanity's enemies. They see themselves as parents disciplining children, she explained to the War Council. They believe they have the right to decide which species live and which die. Any way to use that against them? Asked Major Julia Clark. Yes, Amanda said. Parents don't expect their children to fight back effectively. The hegemony will underestimate us. With 2 months left before the deadline, humanity launched its first test ship. The vessel was small but fast, equipped with experimental weapons. Based on Villani technology, Captain Tyler Brooks piloted the test flight. He pushed the ship to its limits, testing every system. It's not pretty, he reported, but it's mean. These ships are built for one purpose, killing the enemy. The final month was frantic. Ships launched from Earth's orbit every day. Weapon systems were tested and improved. Soldiers trained for space combat. Amanda spent the last week writing psychological warfare broadcasts. When the fighting started, she would try to break the enemy's spirit with words as well as weapons. What if we lose? Jake asked her one night. Amanda looked out the window at the fleet gathering in Earth's orbit. Hundreds of warships hung in space like angry metal stars. Then we'll lose fighting, she said. The Villani died without a chance to defend themselves. We're going to make sure the hegemony pays a price for every human life they take. The deadline arrived on a Tuesday. At exactly noon, Earth's response to the hegemony ultimatum was broadcast across the galaxy. It was not a message of surrender. It was a declaration of war. To the Hegemony Council, President Rodriguez's voice echoed through space. You murdered our friends. You destroyed an entire world because they dared to befriend us. You offer us slavery or death. The president paused. When she spoke again, her voice was ice cold. We choose neither. We choose war. We choose vengeance. You wanted to teach young species their place in the galaxy. Today, humanity teaches you ours. As the message ended, the human fleet began moving toward hegemony space. 300 warships carrying the fury of an entire species. General Turner watched from the command center as his ships disappeared into the darkness between stars. God help us all, he whispered. Amanda stood beside him, her face hard as stone. God help them, she said. We're coming for them now. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy through fear for thousands of years. They were about to learn that some species, when pushed too far, become more dangerous than anything in the darkness. Humanity was going to war, and humanity never forgot its friends. Admiral Sam Richardson stood on the bridge of his flagship as the human fleet approached the Proxima relay station. The hegemony outpost was huge, designed to control traffic through this part of space. They're not expecting us, reported Captain Tyler Brooks from his scout ship. No defensive formations. No weapons powered up. They think we're coming to surrender, Sam said with a grim smile. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Proxima station held 5,000 hegemony soldiers. They were Korthak warriors, the deadliest fighters in the galaxy. For 1,000 years, no enemy had ever defeated them in battle. They had never fought humans before. Human fleet, halt immediately, came the transmission from the station. You will surrender your ships and prepare for processing. Admiral Richardson's response was simple. Go to hell. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. Human ships moved like angry hornets around the massive station. They were smaller and faster than anything the Korthak had ever faced. When hegemony weapons fired, the human ships were already somewhere else. Captain Nicole Adams led the first attack run. Her ship was tiny compared to the station, but it carried weapons that could crack mountains. For the Shah, she screamed as she fired. Her missiles tore through the station's shields like they were made of paper. The Vellani energy technology, weaponized by human engineers, was devastating. The Korthak tried to fight back, but they were confused and scared. Their enemies moved too fast and hit too hard. Worse, the humans fought with an emotional intensity that terrified the alien warriors. They're insane, one Korthak commander reported before his section of the station exploded. They don't care if they die as long as they kill us first. That was humanity's first advantage. The hegemony fought to win. Humans fought to win or die trying. There was a difference that mattered in battle. Captain Tyler Brooks flew his ship directly into the station's main reactor. The explosion destroyed both his ship and the entire power grid. Tyler died, but he took 300 enemies with him. These creatures are not rational, the Korthak general reported to his superiors. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. How do we fight an enemy that welcomes death? Admiral Richardson watched the station break apart and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. That's for the Vellani, he said quietly. The news of humanity's first victory spread quickly through hegemony space. The reaction was shock and confusion. How had a primitive species destroyed one of their major outposts so easily? Overlord Zeth Prime, the ancient ruler of the hegemony, called an emergency council meeting. Explain to me how 5,000 Korth warriors were defeated by these humans, he demanded. They fight differently than any species we have encountered, reported General Vexstar. They show no concern for their own survival. They attack with emotional fury instead of tactical logic. Emotions are a weakness, another council member said. All young species are emotional. That is why they are easy to defeat. Not these emotions, General Vexstar replied. These humans fight with hatred and grief. They want revenge more than they want to live. Overlord Zeth Prime dismissed the general's concerns. Send the second fleet to crush them. Use overwhelming force, but the human fleet was not where the hegemony expected to find it. Admiral Richardson had split his forces into smaller groups. They struck at multiple targets across hegemony space. Colonel Hannah Brooks led ground forces against the hegemony mining world. The alien miners surrendered quickly when they saw how humans fought. We're not here to hurt you, Hannah told the captured miners. We're here to free you from the hegemony. That was when humanity discovered the truth about their enemies. The hegemony was not just a military alliance. It was a slave empire built on the ruins of dead civilizations. The mining world was worked by survivors from dozens of destroyed species. Their worlds had been erased, but some individuals had been kept alive to serve as laborers. How many worlds have they destroyed? Amanda asked when she received the reports from Hannah's mission. Hundreds, came the reply. Maybe thousands. They've been doing this for so long that they've lost count. Amanda felt her anger grow even colder. The hegemony was not just humanity's enemy. They were the enemy of every free species in the galaxy. Broadcast this information everywhere, she ordered. Let every world know what the hegemony really is. Amanda's psychological warfare campaign began in earnest. Human ships transmitted evidence of hegemony crimes to every corner of the galaxy. The ancient empire had ruled through fear and secrecy. Now their darkest secrets were exposed to the light. Citizens of the galaxy, Amanda's voice echoed through space. For too long, you have lived in fear of the hegemony. They tell you they bring order and peace. Look at the evidence. They bring only death and slavery. Some worlds began to revolt against hegemony rule. Others sent secret messages, offering to help the human fleet. The galaxy was starting to wake up. Major Eric Stone led an assault on a hegemony weapons facility. His soldiers fought with a savagery that shocked even their allies. Why do they fight so hard? Asked a freed alien slave. Because we remember our friends, Eric replied. The hegemony killed 6 billion innocents. We won't stop until every one of them pays for that crime. The human advance continued across multiple star systems. Each victory brought new evidence of hegemony atrocities. Each piece of evidence made human soldiers fight even harder. Captain Danny Walsh destroyed an entire hegemony patrol fleet by ramming his ship into their command vessel. His last transmission was simple. Tell the Overlord, we're coming for him next. The Korthok warriors, who had never known defeat, began to retreat from human forces. Their ancient pride was breaking under the emotional assault of human warfare. They don't fight like soldiers, one Korthok veteran reported. They fight like demons. Every human who dies takes 3 of us with them. General Vexstar tried new tactics against the humans. He used superior numbers, better technology, and careful strategy. Nothing worked. The humans adapted to every strategy faster than the Korthok could implement them. How are they learning so quickly? Overlord Zeth Prime demanded. They study our every move, the general replied. Their leader, the one called Amanda Stone, seems to understand our psychology better than we do. Amanda was indeed studying every aspect of hegemony behavior. She had teams of linguists and psychologists analyzing captured communications. She was mapping the enemy's mind, like a general maps enemy territory. They're starting to panic, she reported to Admiral Richardson. Their communications show increasing fear and confusion. They've never faced an enemy who wouldn't surrender or negotiate. Good, the Admiral replied. Fear makes them stupid. Stupid enemies make mistakes. The hegemony's second fleet finally engaged the human forces at the Vega system. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Richardson commanded 300 human ships against 1,500 hegemony vessels. By every logical measure, humanity should have been crushed. Instead, they won. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships dove through enemy formations, like wolves attacking a flock of sheep. They targeted command vessels and support ships, creating chaos in the hegemony ranks. Captain Nicole Adams survived her third suicide run by pure luck. Her ship was so damaged it could barely fly, but she kept fighting. "I'm not dying until every last one of these monsters is dead," she transmitted to her fleet. When the battle ended, the hegemony's second fleet was destroyed. Only 12 human ships remained operational, but they had achieved the impossible. "How?" Overlord Zeth Prime asked when he received the news. "They don't fight to win," General Vexstar explained. "They fight to kill us all, even if it means dying themselves. Every tactical manual in our empire is useless against such madness." But it was not madness. It was human nature unleashed by grief and fury. The hegemony had awakened something in humanity that they could not understand or defeat. "Recall all fleets to the home worlds," Overlord Zeth Prime ordered. "We will make our final stand at Dominion." For the first time in 1,000 years, the hegemony was retreating. The galaxy watched in amazement as the ancient tyrants ran from a species they had dismissed as primitive children. Amanda smiled when she received the intelligence reports. "They're going home," she told Admiral Richardson. "They think their homeworld will protect them. Will it?" the Admiral asked. Amanda's smile became cold as winter. "Not from us. We've come too far to stop now. The Vellani are still dead, and the hegemony still needs to pay for killing them." Humanity's war machine pressed forward, leaving a trail of destroyed hegemony outposts in its wake. Every victory brought them closer to the final battle. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see if the impossible would happen. Could a young species actually defeat an empire that had ruled for millennia? Soon, everyone would have their answer. Fleet Admiral Tony Mitchell stood before the largest gathering of human warships ever assembled. 500 vessels hung in space around the edge of the Dominion system. After 8 months of constant fighting, this was all that remained of Earth's war fleet, but it was enough. "Today we finish what the hegemony started," Tony announced to his captains. "They wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Instead, we're going to teach them theirs." Dominion was the heart of the hegemony empire. The ancient world was protected by massive orbital stations and thousands of defense ships. No enemy had ever threatened the hegemony homeworld. Until now. "They have 10 times our numbers," reported Captain Susan Lee from her reconnaissance ship. "Their defenses look impossible to break." "The Korthok thought they were impossible to beat too," Tony replied. "We proved them wrong." Amanda Stone was aboard Tony's flagship, coordinating the final psychological warfare assault. For months, she had been broadcasting evidence of hegemony, crimes across the galaxy. Now she was ready to deliver her ultimate message. "Citizens of Dominion," her voice echoed across the hegemony capital. "Your leaders have murdered entire civilizations. They destroyed our friends, the Vellani, simply for talking to us. Today, humanity comes for justice." On the surface of Dominion, panic was spreading through the crystal spires of the capital city. For the first time in their history, the hegemony leaders faced an enemy at their front door. Overlord Zeth Prime called an emergency session of the High Council. The ancient ruler was thousands of years old and had never known defeat. "How did this happen?" he demanded. "How did primitives from a single world destroy our empire?" "They fight without logic," General Vexstar replied. "They sacrifice themselves, gladly if it means killing us. We cannot predict their tactics because they do not care about survival." "Everyone cares about survival," another council member argued. "Not humans," the general said quietly. "They care more about revenge than life itself." The battle for Dominion began at dawn. Human ships dove toward the planet like meteors, absorbing terrible damage, but pressing forward with unstoppable determination. Captain Tyler Reed led the first wave in his damaged cruiser. His ship had been patched together with spare parts and determination. It should not have been able to fly, but Tyler kept it fighting through pure willpower. For the Vellani, he screamed as his ship smashed through a defensive line. The hegemony defenders fought desperately, but they were facing an enemy unlike anything in their experience. Human ships rammed hegemony vessels when their weapons failed. Human pilots crashed their fighters into enemy command centers. Human soldiers boarded enemy stations with nothing but rifles and fury. Colonel Hannah Brooks led the ground assault on Dominion's surface. Her soldiers landed in the capital city and began fighting their way toward the government center. "Take prisoners if they surrender," she ordered her troops. But remember what they did to Desha. Her soldiers needed no reminder. Every human fighter carried images of the destroyed Villani world. They fought with the memory of 6 billion murdered friends driving them forward. The hegemony's elite guard tried to stop the human advance. These were the finest warriors in the galaxy, trained for 1,000 years in the art of war. They lasted 3 hours against human soldiers who fought like demons. Major Eric Stone breached the outer defenses of the High Council chambers. His unit had lost half its members getting this far, but they kept advancing. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," one of his sergeants reported. "Good," Eric replied. "So are they. And we want this more than they do." In space, the battle was reaching its climax. Admiral Tony Mitchell had lost half his fleet, but the hegemony defenses were cracking. "All ships, final assault," he ordered. "Break their lines and take the planet." Captain Nicole Adams, flying her 5th ship of the war, led the attack on the orbital command station. Her vessel was held together by metal patches and prayer, but she pushed it forward anyway. "This is for every world you bastards destroyed," she transmitted as her ship exploded against the station's shields. The explosion knocked out the station's main defenses. 20 more human ships followed Nicole through the gap, their weapons tearing apart the massive structure. On the planet's surface, Colonel Hannah Brooks reached the government district. Korthok warriors made their final stand at the steps of the High Council building. The battle was vicious and personal. Human soldiers fought hand to hand with alien warriors who had never known defeat. But humans had something the Korthok lacked: absolute determination born from grief and rage. "They killed our friends," Hannah shouted to her troops. "Make them pay for every single one." The fighting raged through the crystal corridors of power. Ancient tapestries that had hung for millennia burned in the crossfire. Statues of hegemony heroes crumbled under human weapons. Major Eric Stone kicked down the doors to the High Council chamber. Inside, Overlord Zeth Prime waited with his remaining guards. "So," the ancient ruler said, "the primitives have come to gloat over their victory." "We've come for justice," Eric replied. "You murdered 6 billion innocent people. That debt needs to be paid." The final fight was brief, but intense. Hegemony guards fell to human weapons and human fury. When the smoke cleared, Eric Stone stood over the defeated Overlord. "Your empire is finished," Eric said. "Surrender now, or we'll finish what you started with Desha." But it was Amanda Stone who delivered the final ultimatum. She entered the chamber carrying a device that made Overlord Zeth Prime's eyes widen in fear. "You recognize this?" Amanda asked, holding up the stellar manipulation device. "We built it using Villani science. The same science they shared with us in friendship. The same friendship you murdered them for. The device could trigger a supernova in Dominion's star, just as the hegemony had done to Vetcha. You have a choice," Amanda continued. "Total surrender and reparations to every species you've wronged, or your world becomes a new star in the sky." Overlord Zeth Prime looked at the device, then at the human soldiers surrounding him. For the first time in his ancient life, he felt genuine fear. "You would commit genocide to stop genocide?" he asked. "We would do anything to make sure this never happens again," Amanda replied. "The Villani believed in peace and friendship. You killed them for it. Now you face the consequences of that choice." The Overlord looked into Amanda's eyes and saw something that terrified him. He saw the absolute willingness to destroy everything, if that was what justice required. "I surrender," he said quietly. The hegemony surrenders unconditionally. The war was over. News of the hegemony's defeat spread across the galaxy in hours. Species that had lived in fear for millennia celebrated in the streets. Worlds that had been enslaved declared their independence. Amanda stood on the balcony of the former High Council building, looking out over the conquered capital. Jake Martinez found her there as the sun set over Dominion. "It's finished," he said. "We won." "Did we?" Amanda asked. 6 billion Villani are still dead. Winning the war doesn't bring them back. "No," Jake agreed, "but it means no one else will suffer like they did." In the months that followed, humanity established the Galactic Restoration Council. Species that had been thought extinct for centuries emerged from hiding. Worlds that had been were restored. The galaxy began to heal from millennia of hegemony rule. Memorial stations were built at every world the hegemony had destroyed. Each one carried the names and histories of the lost civilizations. The galaxy would remember what had been taken from it. The largest memorial was built where Vecha had once orbited its star. Amanda designed it herself, making sure it captured the beauty and wisdom of the Villani people. On the anniversary of Vecha's destruction, Amanda stood in the memorial's central chamber. She placed a crystal containing every conversation she had ever had with Kethvei into the memory vault. "I kept my promise," she whispered to her dead friend. "They paid for what they did to you. All of them." Captain Lisa Wang, now Admiral of the Restoration Fleet, joined Amanda at the memorial. "The last hegemony holdouts surrendered yesterday," Lisa reported. "It's truly over now." Amanda nodded but did not smile. "Good. Maybe now the galaxy can learn to live in peace." "What about you?" Lisa asked. "What will you do now?" Amanda looked out at the stars through the memorial's crystal windows. Somewhere out there, new civilizations were taking their first steps into space. Someday, they might need protection from enemies like the hegemony. "We'll watch," Amanda said. "We'll remember. And if anyone ever tries to do what the hegemony did, we'll stop them. All of us." "All of us," Amanda confirmed. Humanity learned something important from the Villani. We learned the value of friendship. And we learned what happens to anyone who threatens our friends. The memorial's eternal flame flickered in the artificial wind, a reminder of lives lost and friendships destroyed. But around it, the galaxy was rebuilding. Species were learning to trust each other again. Children of different worlds played together without fear. The hegemony had ruled through terror for millennia. Now they were gone, defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive children. Humanity had kept its promise to the Villani. Vengeance was complete, and the galaxy was free. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, no longer shadowed by the fear of ancient tyrants. In the memorial chamber, Amanda smiled for the first time since the Shah's destruction. Her friends could finally rest in peace.